Welcome to Women in Music with me, Millie Cotton. For our first episode, I sat down with Anna Pryor, who's the drummer for Metronomy and also a really great DJ. I don't know about you, but I'm a really big Metronomy fan, so I hope that you get as much out of this episode as I did recording it. If you do enjoy this episode, please do rate and review and subscribe on iTunes, and also maybe share it with your friends so we can get more people listening. I love the
metronome, yeah.
Metronome, Metronomy. Hey. Hi Anna, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
I thought we would start with some fun quick fire questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what was the last thing that you listened to?
Well, I'm doing my Soho Radio show when I leave here, so I was listening to some music for that. But it's actually no, I got sent the remixes for some Metronomy song, the Moscow Man version of Salted Caramel Ice Cream.
Nice.
It's pretty vibey.
When does it come out?
Well, I think it's out. I think.
The remix?
Well, the single's out.
Yeah, no, I definitely knew that,
yeah.
I promise. But yeah, no, the remix sounds fun. So what's your favourite dance move?
Square dance.
Your craziest fan story?
I don't know if I have anything that's happened face to face, but now because of Instagram I do get some quite strange messages because I try to read the messages and sort of respond and say thank you or whatever. But I responded to a guy and then he started telling me about this fantasy he had about myself and another female drummer called Sarah Jones who plays in Hot Chip and Harry Styles' band. And I was like, oh mate. Chill. So that was a bit awkward, so I'm debating whether to block him or...
Oh no, that moves nicely onto my next question though. Twitter or Instagram?
Oh, Instagram.
Okay. Your first ever paid gig?
When I was 14, I played drums in a covers band. I'm from Yorkshire, so it was all around sort of the north of England, and we'd play in working men's clubs.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid £50 a night, and I was 14, 15 years old, and I was earning 150 quid a weekend.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
It was
very decent.
Yeah, my first ever job. Didn't last very long, but it was fun, and it sort of enabled me to have live experience at such a young age. Yeah.
What was the first gig you ever went to?
Take That at Sheffield Arena.
Amazing.
In '95. It was brilliant.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading David Sedaris' book called Let's Talk About Owls with Diabetes. No, that's not the exact title, but it's something about owls and diabetes.
Okay, sounds quite niche.
Yeah, it's very niche.
A song that reminds you of childhood?
Anything by Peter Gabriel or Seal. Solitary Brother, that one.
Oh yeah, nice. The last person you text?
My boyfriend.
Your most used profanity?
Probably fuck.
Your favourite song to play? I guess play in Metronomy rather than play out as a DJ.
The Look. We usually play it last, just before the encore, if we're doing an encore. And we've sort of changed it up a little bit. Added a drop.
So let's go back a little bit. So how did you first get into drumming? How were you introduced to it? How old were you?
I was 14, and I'd had years of trying to... I wanted to be a musician and I wanted to play music, but nothing was coming organically. I had piano lessons and it made sense. Music makes sense to me on a keyboard, but I just couldn't read the music. It just wasn't really gelling with me. So I just I kept quitting, and my dad was like, oh, come on, please play something. And then I discovered the drums for myself, and it was this exotic girl that had moved to my school, and I'm from the north of England, and there aren't many different types of people. It's all just kind of white British people.
Yeah.
And she was French, and she was so exotic, and she would always disappear at lunchtime, and go and play drums. So I asked if I could go with her, and she taught me a little beat, and then I went and asked my dad if I could have drum lessons. He was like, yeah, all right, if you want. And it was one of those things, I was quite lucky, it came quite naturally, and I didn't have to work that hard to get to a good level.
Yeah,
quickly.
well, if you started when you were 14 and you were playing your first gig when you were 14,
Yeah.
that happened really quickly
Yeah.
and fluidly, I guess.
Yeah, I was quite lucky.
Yeah. So you started playing drums, you had your first gig, you did the covers bands.
Yeah.
And then where did you go after that? So did you continue with school, or did you put all your eggs into one basket essentially and then kind of like, no, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to do school anymore. I'm going to go and, go and be in a band.
Essentially that, what you just said.
Yeah.
Put all my eggs into one basket. I finished school. I think I did like an AS level. I just did really bad. I just kind of lost interest. And I tried to went to art college, did a year of fine art, and I hated it. I just think I'd just kind of given up with education at this point, and then just tried to make the drumming work, and was just in crappy bands, like doing original stuff, not really making much money, and working at Topshop on the side.
Topshop was my dream job when I was like 16. If I could have had Topshop discount, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah,
not that I had any money to spend in Topshop, but it would have been definitely better than working at M&S, which is where I worked as a teenager, so not quite as trendy. When it comes to Metronomy, I read that you were in a band called Lightspeed Champion.
Yes.
And that you warmed up for Metronomy at the Amersham Arms.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what?
Isn't that crazy?
It's so mad.
It's like some weird Inception thing. Yeah, Metronomy were headlining, and I really remember, I hadn't really heard of Metronomy before, and this was when they had like the push lights on the chests, and I remember Oscar hadn't brought his special t-shirt with the Velcro on, so they were like using like black electrical tape to just like tape the light to his chest in the dressing room. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I had no idea that I would end up in that band.
So it wasn't off the back of warming up for them that you then met them and then ended up in Metronomy?
Maybe. I don't recall making, like, obviously I was civil and we had a nice chat and a fun night, but I don't recall, like, ever making friends with them afterwards. It was only when Lightspeed Champion sort of dissolved and Dev, who is now Blood Orange, moved to New York. And I was like, oh no, I need to get a job. So I was working at the Science Museum. It was so grim. I'd gone from like touring the world to like working at the Science Museum. And then Joe texted me while I was with my shopping on the bus, on the number 8 bus going to Bethnal Green. And he said, do you want to join Metronomy? And I was like, yeah, all right.
So how many years ago was this? I was actually trying to find this out and I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't find an actual date of when you started.
I joined Metronomy in March 2009.
Okay.
So it's been 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did a year of touring in 2008 with Lightspeed Champion, and then I had a few months off and then joined Metronomy.
For anyone who's not heard Metronomy, how would you describe the sound?
I always describe it as it's a bit kind of Talking Heads-esque. If you've heard of Talking Heads, they're, very like rhythmical, but not necessarily just with the drums. Like all the rhythm comes from like the arpeggios from synthesizers and interesting vocal patterns. And yeah, we're not a guitar band.
Yeah.
Although I know Joe wants to kind of be Nirvana now. He's written some songs that are very chuggy on the guitar, which are quite fun to play live. So we're a synth-based band.
Cool.
Yeah, with live drums.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't heard any Metronomy and you're listening to this, like definitely, obviously go and check it out.
Yeah, you should.
That would be a good place to start. So there was no plan B, essentially, then I guess. Like, you always wanted to do this and you just went straight into it. Do you ever look back and wish you'd done anything differently?
I don't think there is. Like, I genuinely feel, this might sound cheesy, I genuinely feel like I'm living the life I'm supposed to be living. I don't sort of feel like I've missed out on something, or maybe I'd like to have a degree in something, but that's something I can always do in the future if I want to go and like go back and study for something that I'm really, really interested in. But yeah, I have no regrets.
So I think we should talk about the new album, definitely. So Metronomy Forever. So it'll be out actually when this comes out. So it will be out on the 13th of September, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the creative process of a band writing an album together?
Well, for Metronomy, it's not the traditional band setup that you'd expect. It's more Joe, our singer, is Metronomy. He is Mr. Metronomy, and he writes all the music.
Okay.
So it's very much kind of controlled in that way. And then when he comes to record, he usually decides if he wants, he'll call me up and say, Anna, can you come and do some vocals on something? Or can you play this drum beat? Because he's also a drummer, he's also a bass player, so, he plays everything. So he does everything on the record, which I think kind of gives it this nice trajectory that it's got, because then we're not fighting over things, and we don't have creative differences, and we all respect him and respect the music that he makes, so it sort of works. It's not necessarily a hierarchical situation, which I think people might think it could be that way, but no, we all believe in the band, and we just come together when we're going to do live stuff. We just practice for a month in the rehearsal studios and then go out and do shows.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
so do you do that practicing before you record? So you don't record that?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I get it.
We are a band.
Yeah.
And we are business partners.
Yeah.
It's just that Joe is Metronomy.
Okay.
If that makes sense. He's Metronomy Limited, and then the other four of us, we are our own business underneath the Metronomy umbrella.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
You would never think that. So I really imagined that you sort of all sat together and wrote music together, learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if this question if it makes sense to ask you this now because you didn't write it, but I guess you're still playing it. But how do you feel that this album is different to the last albums?
It's more poppy. Even though I would say most of Metronomy's music is pop, I think this is very much like we want America to like us. I'm just going to be completely shameless and say it. We just want America to love us. America love us. But yeah, so we go to America and some places get it. We'll go to New York and we'll go to LA and they'll sell out and it's great fun. But it's all the bits in between, and we don't get on radio and we don't play any festivals. I think the last festival we played in America was Coachella in 2011, so that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
We've had 3 albums since then. We just never get asked to go. So I feel like Joe's kind of tried to write an album that he thinks people in North America will relate to.
Why is trying to break America as a band so important?
Well, I feel like we have the rest of the world already.
Yeah.
Latin America, we do so well down there. The fans are amazing, and we sell out shows down there, and we play big festivals. Same in Mexico. Australia, maybe not so much. We haven't really been there that often. But Europe and Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, it's just a massive vibe. But whenever we go to America, we're like, why?
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Is it personal? I don't know.
Yeah, that's so bizarre, isn't it? So, but you feel like this album is a progression.
I feel like Joe, he always tries to make something different for the next record. For me, I always find that a lot of bands who have got maybe more than 5 albums, it tends to be a bit samey, but obviously I'm speaking from bias. This is a biased opinion about my own band. But I think all Metronomy albums are different, but also have a lot of similarities the way you can be like, oh, that's classic Metronomy. You
can recognise the sound essentially. You can hear a song that you guys have put out and you might not have... I think I heard your single before knowing that you even had new music out. And I was like, shit, that sounds really like Metronomy. And then I think I looked it up and then, you had released a new single and I was like, sick. You have a massive tour coming up. Yes. Are you excited?
Yeah. I really am. I love it. Touring's kind of what I live for, really. I love travelling. I love I'm not much of a homely person. I mean, I have a home, but I don't mind leaving it. for long periods of time. So we've got loads of stuff coming up.
So what's going on tour like? Like, what is a day in the life of tour for you?
It depends. If we're doing currently we're just doing festivals, so it's very, very bitty, very let's get on a plane, let's fly to France, and then we'll meet a tour bus and then drive to the next place, or we'll get on a plane and fly to the next place. But so you kind of can't really get into the swing of things, can't really get into the flow. But when we start properly touring, we'll have a tour bus.
Yeah. And
if I'm honest, sometimes I get into really bad habits, like going to bed super, super late, waking up really late. It's bad, really. And you kind of, sometimes your nutrition kind of slips. But I'm speaking very personally, this is me. Normally when I'm at home, I'm in the gym every day, I go running, I eat really well, but I'm on tour, I'm like, bleh. Which is, it's not good. And every time I go on tour, I tell myself, you're not going to do it this time. You're not going to start going to bed at 4 a.m. and waking up at midday.
That's so late. And so you're doing that, are you touring for 2 months?
We've got September, October, October, November, and then some bits in Japan and South America in December.
Oh, amazing. So it's more than 2 months.
Yeah, and then there'll be America in February.
And so with the late nights and maybe the not eating so well as you would usually do, the lack of exercise, it must take quite a toll on your body, I reckon.
Yeah, it does.
At the end of it, you must be quite knackered.
Yeah.
But also during, you must be really fit to be able to do that for 2 months. And also you're playing drums. It's not like you're standing in front of a stage singing, which I still think you have to have such good stamina for, but you must have to have amazing stamina.
Yeah. I do yoga quite a lot to kind of keep, because drumming is so not necessarily from a cardio aspect, it's more really bad for your joints. Because I've been drumming since I was 14 and I'm now 34, so that's 20 years of all that kind of vibration sort of coming through my wrists and into my elbows, and also your hips and your knees and stuff. I'm starting to feel little niggles and aches and pains, and a couple of years ago I had problems with my wrists, which if you do some research, a lot of drummers really suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome, de Quervain veins, which is for the thumb, so that tendon down there, and I'm now struggling with my hips a little bit. Yeah, it's a very physically demanding of your body. Yeah, I'm endeavouring now for this touring cycle to just eat better, get better, and look after my body.
You also DJ, so we should talk about that. So Soho Radio, how long have you been doing that for?
I think it's been about a year since I started. I do it once a month. It's quite nice. It's made me, I've always been interested in electronic music and music in general, but it's made me do more research about music and be excited about finding new stuff. So that's a good thing that it's brought to my life. I'm still too scared to say anything. It
is quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I did a show for Foundation FM a while ago, and I just shat myself. I was I don't think radio's for me.
Yeah.
I'm fine when I'm sitting at home in my spare room with recording stuff, but then it's so different, isn't it? I don't know.
I can't understand what it is, and I think I came to some conclusion that it's who am I talking to? I'm just talking into the ether.
It is the weirdest thing, because you can't see anyone. There's no reaction. I guess if you're at a big station, you're getting people tweeting in or texting in or whatever. But when it's something more independent, like Soho Radio or Foundation, it is just you talking to yourself in a room, and it's just the weirdest feeling. So what is your show about on Soho Radio?
I've called it Beat Palace. So it's all about, I really love Afro house music, anything like that, anything with kind of crazy rhythms, and so I usually just use it a 2-hour constant mix, because when I'm listening to, I'll listen to other shows on Soho Radio or NTS or these other online stations, I like to just zone out, so I'll maybe say you're listening to Anna Pryor's Beat Palace, and even when I do that I'm shaking But yeah, I play like I do lots of looping, and I kind of make interesting like beats out of the music that I'm playing, and I just kind of use it more as like a soundscape. Is my vibe, but the people who run Soho Radio are like, when are you going to say something?
I mean, you've gone a year without saying something, so exactly. I'm sure you can go another year. A year's quite a long time to...
But I've had like good feedback from people saying that they just enjoy it as like a background thing, and I think maybe at some point I will have more of an agenda and I'll want to speak more about a certain topic, or maybe I will start to get guests on. But I think currently right now, I think because my brain is also elsewhere with Metronomy, I feel like it's almost like a therapy for me to kind of go to this studio. The studio is really lovely. They've just got a brand new one on Berwick Street. But you are kind of in a fishbowl, people can see.
What got you into DJing?
Yeah, in my hometown where I'm from, I guess when I was 18 and old enough to get into clubs, there was a club in town called the Priory, and they had like an indie night downstairs, and I never DJ'd at the proper like on the dance floor like indie night, but there was like a chill out bar upstairs, and I would just go and I'd play. I used to collect old 45 records from the flea market that was on a Wednesday, and I used to play those, but then sometimes I get too drunk and then lose them or scratch them, or pour beer all over them or something. So I stopped doing that. So it's always been a constant thing for me since I was about 18, and it's only recently, maybe the past 4 or 5 years, that I've started like actually properly DJing in clubs or at events or things like that. I really love it. I'm not so much of a control freak. I like to think that I'm not, but maybe I am, because I like to be in control of the night. If I go to a club, I'm like, oh, this DJ's a bit crap, they're not really playing what I want to hear.
Oh god, no,
I mean, of course they're not, because
no, absolutely.
So for me, like DJing in a club, it's like ultimate control, and it's ultimate like, I want to listen to this for 2 hours. This is great, and you can have a nice time behind the decks, and I strictly don't do requests.
Like every DJ ever, though, to be fair. No, same. Well, when you have USBs also, if you don't have the music, you don't have the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's nothing you can do about it, because you play from USBs, don't you? Yeah. So it's like, and I don't think that people in clubs necessarily understand that you can't like magic this music out of. They think that you're being difficult, and you're firstly like, no, actually, I don't really want to play what you want me to play. And secondly, I actually physically can't. Yeah. That's what, I struggle with sometimes, which I think is quite fun. When I mentioned that you were coming on, a lot of my friends were like, oh my god, that's so cool, like a female drummer's coming to talk to you. That'll be so interesting to find out about. Do you ever feel like specifically as a drummer, you're treated like a bit of a novelty because you're a female drummer?
Not this question specifically, but I get asked about being a woman in the music industry quite a lot, and that's like, I have no problems with that. But it was only until I started being asked those questions that I realised that I was a woman in the music industry, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
And I've become more aware of it, and I've started to give more of a shit about it, and screaming from the treetops, like, you know, about female musicians, and like, you know, I've got a little black book, I'm using air quotes here, about my little book of female drummers, and so sometimes I get approached about a drumming job, and if I can't do it, I never pass it on to a male drummer. I always pass it on to one of my girls again.
Yeah, amazing. That's so cool.
Because I think you have to, you know, I got asked to play drums in. I've gone off topic now. I'm answering your question.
It's all good.
I got asked to play for Miles Kane, but I couldn't do it because it was at the start of the Metronomy stuff, and we were getting really busy. So I asked the management, is it a female drummer you're looking for specifically? And they said yes, and I was like, I applauded that, because I think in a way that's positive discrimination, and I think you have to have that for change to occur. No, I don't feel like I'm treated like a novelty. I know that it is a novelty though, but I don't feel like I'm treated like one, and I think that's all about your perception. Like, if you feel like a novelty, then people will treat you like one. And you know, I've just been doing this since I was 14, like I said, like playing in working men's clubs, playing like ABBA medleys and whatever, you know, I've earned it. I've earned like being where I am today. Yeah, and I know that I will, if Metronomy isn't a thing anymore, I know that I will get jobs probably based on my gender, and I'm kind of cool with that. And I know a lot of people, especially younger people, I mean, I know I'm not old, I'm 34, but like people who I've met in the past who are maybe 18, 19, I've done like panel talks and stuff, they don't like the idea of the word discrimination and positive discrimination and, you know, being a novelty, and that's cool, but I think being realistic, I think it's a bloody great thing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't feel like a novelty. And I think maybe more female musicians, DJs should just embrace it, I think, because it's never been a better time to be a woman, and I think 100%. Just milk it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Until we're all equal, and then you're just like, oh damn, I want it to go back to when it wasn't so equal, but we'll never think that.
Did you have any female inspirations growing up or in music who you looked to?
To be honest, it was mainly male drummers, because that was the kind of music I was listening to. Like, I loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers back then.
Oh my god, same.
Obsessed with Chad Smith. He was amazing, and I used to take the Red Hot Chili Peppers CDs into my drum lessons, and we, you know, pick apart some drum parts. But as I was starting to get into my early 20s, I started to become more aware of female drummers. I love Sheila E. I don't know if you know.
I don't know, sorry, who is she?
You'd love her, she's wicked. She used to play for Prince back in like the early 80s, like on the Purple Rain era Prince. And she's still drumming now, and David Letterman, the American TV show host, he did like a drum solo week or something. And every night he had like a drummer on to do drum solo. Sheila E came on his show and did this drum solo, but she was wearing this like sequined cocktail dress.
Oh wow.
Just above the knee, and she was wearing 6-inch heels, and she was smashing it.
Yeah, amazing.
It was so great. And I was like, a lot of people, when they think of female musicians, maybe they think like kind of quite manly females, let's say. But she's so feminine, and she's just like keeps hold of her femininity, and that's what I grabbed hold of. I was like, oh, I can be feminine and play the drums. Like, I don't need to like be one of the boys. I can still be one of the girls and be a drummer, and like wear bright red lipstick and curl my hair and wear sequins and be glamorous. And you know, after like seeing her do that, I was like, right, I'm wearing sequins on stage. So I just wore like, my mum's a really great seamstress, and she made me all these sequin onesies, and I wore like bright red lipstick, and there's photos on the internet. It's pretty
yeah, amazing.
those are good days.
Yeah.
I curled my hair. And
you don't do it anymore?
I think we always have a uniform when we're playing.
Okay.
And I like to feel part of a gang. So we've got like designated uniforms now, and they're all the same. And to be honest, like, I don't like wearing them that much, because I do kind of look like one of the boys.
Yep.
But I'm conflicted, because I do like to feel part of the band, but also I want to kind of retain my femininity, and I don't really feel feminine in that outfit I'm wearing right now, but what can you do?
Yeah. Uniform's uniform, right?
Yeah, totally.
So going back to feeling like one of the boys, you're in a predominantly male band, and you are the only female.
Yeah.
How is that?
I mean, I've been with the boys for 10 years now, and we're just like brothers and sisters, really. Like, we get along really well. They're always looking out for me. They don't kind of treat me, I don't know how to describe it. They don't treat me differently, basically.
Yeah.
They don't like offer to carry my bag, because they know that I will like kick their ass if I was. I mean, Oscar, bless him, he's very he looks after me, and he's like, oh, do you need a hand? And I'm like, dude, I'm fine, thank you. But we have a female tour manager. That's partly because of me, but I think the boys really enjoy having a woman in charge. I think it makes them just feel more comfortable. I'm not sure why. And like, we like to have nice people representing us, because I'd like to think that we're all nice people in the band, And the tour manager we have currently, she's great, and she like really represents who we are, just like nice, friendly human beings. And it's great for me because, you know, if I run out of tampons,
I was going to say that. I'm like, if it's just you and the boys, who is giving you a spare tampon?
Yeah. So that's
your tour manager.
For me, that's great. I'm like texting her like from the toilets. Oh, I just got my period. Have you got? Yeah, babes, I'm coming. So yeah, it's good for that.
And finally, if a young woman wanted to get into drumming or start a band, or, you know, try and follow in a similar route to what you've done, what would your advice be for them?
I just think you need to start a band. If we're talking specifically about like creating music, like just start a band and just be confident and comfortable being on stage, and just play with people, because I have this opinion that there are too many solo artists at the moment, too many solo artists that expect to have a band but aren't that up for paying them. Oh. And, you know, and I am a firm believer that nobody should work for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even, like, no way. Like, it's non-negotiable. And I feel like that's all being lost now. I feel like people aren't forming bands at school, people aren't playing together as much anymore, and people are becoming more insular and just sitting at a computer, because it is so easy. Like, you have Logic here that you're using to record our podcast, and, like, you could also just get a drum machine and, like, create beats, and, like,
if I knew how to do any of it, yeah.
But it's an option, and it's there for everybody. Logic's not very expensive to download, so but it's obviously it's good and it's bad. Like, I want people to be creative, but I think if you want to be in a band, you have to do it collaboratively. That's my opinion on that.
It's been so interesting to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope your tour goes amazingly. And yeah,
we're massive in America.
And we're massive in America. There we go. That's the important bit, isn't it? America. Anyway, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.